Wendy Patrick and Laura Fink join us with more. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Heather.
Okay, so first things first, after today's briefing, we're all wondering, is Donald Trump finally going to change his opinion on the possible Russian hack? Laura, I'll have you start.
If he's smart, he will, because he is up against the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, congressional Republicans, and President Obama. And he really stands to lose credibility if he continues, as James Clapper said, to not just exercise skepticism, but also to disparage the men and women that are part of our intelligence services. We can't forget that a lot of people put their lives on the line in order to gather this sort of intelligence. So really, when it flies in the face of reason that he would continue to doubt facts placed in front of him, the unanimity and the strength of the evidence would indicate that he should probably back down.
Wendy?
The unanimity and the strength of his party is also at stake over whether or not he decides to accept this intelligence briefing. Now, one of the things that distinguishes our country is we have enormously productive and brilliant men and women that sometimes put their lives on the line to gain this kind of intelligence. To view such with skepticism, I suppose, is a sign of the times. But after this briefing, where he's actually going to get some facts and circumstances that have persuaded everybody else, that's going to be very problematic for the Republicans if he doesn't accept their conclusions. Now, he can maybe find a middle ground. Maybe he accepts some of their conclusions and still maintains that, well, we don't really know. But that's becoming unreasonable in the face of so many agencies agreeing that Russia was behind the hack.
Okay, you mentioned the party here. How will Trump's position affect his stance with other Republicans in Congress?
Well, the problem is that Sarah Palin, as Wendy was just saying, Sarah Palin can see that Russia incurred on our electoral system from her house. So he is in danger of jeopardizing his relationship with congressional Republicans, but they're walking on eggshells anyway. Right now, Donald Trump is setting a particular agenda that may not be what the leadership in Congress wants. We saw that with him leading as they led to defund Planned Parenthood, which isn't something that Donald Trump necessarily wants to lead with. I mean, in some ways, we see them with certain issues and what they're choosing to front load, starting a culture war, which may not be what Donald Trump wants to do right out of the gate. Conversely, we see Donald Trump leading with things like building the wall with American taxpayer dollars, which may not be something that congressional Republicans want to see led with right out of the gate. What I wonder is really the top of the line for all of the American people across the board, across the political spectrum, is that they want to see something done about the economy and jobs. So the funny thing is we're talking about everything but that.
Well, let me throw in something here that I think is very personal to Donald Trump. The issue of whether or not Russia was hacking and was trying to influence the election is very personal to Mr. Trump. In other words, he probably fears that to accept that briefing would delegitimize his election. And everybody recognizes that. And you'll notice that in all of the talk shows, everybody is saying, look, he would have won the election anyway. In other words, trying to pave the way for perhaps him to be more reasonable and not maybe exercise a personal bias in refusing to accept those conclusions. That type of interpersonal struggle or personalizing these types of things probably permeates some of the other decisions he's making as well. So it's one of the things he's really going to have to step out in front of as president and put the American people first, not himself.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he says after that briefing. Let's go ahead and switch gears and talk about the wall. Recently, it's now being reported that he's asking Congress to pay for this wall and then tweeting about it. What is really going to happen here?
Well, he has long said Mexico is going to pay for the wall. What he's backpedaling on now is not that initial assertion, but how is that going to happen? How are we going to end up sticking them with the bill? Now it is more along the lines of, well, we're going to pay for it initially. We're going to be reimbursed, kind of like what you do when you travel on a business trip. But that, in his mind, is not different than what he has said all along, that somehow, somewhere, and at some point, Mexico is going to pay for it.
Well, and how do you let taxpayers understand that? I mean, from all of us sitting here, we see a tweet that says that, and it's like, excuse me, how's that going to work?
That's right, Heather. It's billions of dollars that are at stake. Not only billions of dollars that are going to be directed potentially toward this wall through a loophole, a 2006 law that has existed and been on the books but not been funded. But what is the opportunity cost of those dollars? What could we invest in? Education, other types of homeland security. Where and why are we going to continue to go into debt on this promise promise and notion that Mexico is going to pay for it in the long run. I mean, this really is a reversal on Trump's part, and it's one that will do well with his base, but once again, does absolutely nothing to unify the country or to build up his credibility.
But here's an interesting side note on this whole discussion. No doubt Trump knew we would be having this conversation, which I believe is representative of conversations going around kitchen tables across the country. I think that he probably thought it's the building of the wall that was a campaign point for him rather than who's going to pay for it. In other words, border security may have been more important to him than procedurally, how is this going to work?
Well, I appreciate that, Wendy, and I know you do love to give Trump the benefit of the doubt on a lot of his assertions, but one of the things I will give him the benefit of the doubt on is that what we're not talking about this week, while he is creating this confound and distract culture over Twitter, we're not talking about the fact that several reports have found that that his debt to both Wall Street companies and foreign investors tops $1.5 billion. So that's $1.5 billion potential conflicts of interest that he has managed to change the conversation over by talking about everything from the wall to questioning intelligence. So score a point for Donald Trump, because we aren't talking about one of the greatest conflicts of interest of a president-elect in history.
But on the other hand, remember, he's also expressed a willingness to try to reduce costs where he can. Remember the whole thing with Boeing and Air Force One. So he kind of plays both sides of the fence. I mean, he's the great negotiator in chief. He's also made sure that even when it would benefit him, he doesn't want to spend money that would not benefit the people and doesn't want to see any kind of wasteful government spending. So you got to weigh all of that. And he's brilliant in the way he's able to put forth these opposing positions to make Americans believe that he's going to spend our money wisely.
Before we let you guys go, I have a quick non-Trump question. You want to hear it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Quickly, like 1 or 2 word answer. You think Hillary's going to run for mayor of New York City like some Democrats want her to? Laura.
I think if Bill de Blasio looks weak, she'll consider it.
Wow. Wendy?
My answer is one word. Yes, I think she's going to run.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go. Exciting. One non-Trump question.
Ladies,
Amen.
I feel like they're going to go
Just
into
for Laura.
and keep going after this. They have a lot to talk about still, ladies. Thank you, as always, for being on the show.
Thanks,
All
Heather.
right,
Thanks, Raoul.
guys.